questions answered.
So we have a science one, and it asks, what does the pancreas do?
Sure. Okay.
Insulin?
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That
Something
could just
like
be the
that.
answer right there.
Done. Move.
That could just be done.
Next.
Maybe to like,
You know more than I do.
I'm going to add a little to that, but effectively, Becca's answer is exactly right. When you hear pancreas, you should think insulin. Pancreas, insulin, they go very well together. Okay, so pancreas is a gland in your body. And to just complicate things a little bit, there's another gland in your body called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is often regulating what happens with the pancreas. But essentially, the pancreas is responding to blood sugar levels. This is the simplest way to think about it. So when you eat any kind of carbohydrate, simple sugars or complex sugars like starch from potatoes or rice, your body is going to break that down into a form of sugar called glucose that will enter your bloodstream. So you can have glucose flowing in your bloodstream, but the levels of your blood sugar can affect different things. So you don't want your blood sugar to be too high because that can actually be toxic. And you don't want blood sugar to be too low because that can lead to low levels of energy. So essentially, what the pancreas does is produce, well, it produces more than this, but two main hormones, insulin and then this other one called glucagon. The pancreas produces insulin when you have a really high level of glucose in the blood. And insulin's job is to take that glucose and move it out of the blood. And insulin can move it to a few places. Insulin moves glucose to your liver, where it's stored as something called glycogen. Also to your muscles, where it's stored as something called glycogen. And then insulin can even initiate a process called novolipogenesis, which is the formation of fat tissue, adipose tissue, from blood sugar. The other really important hormone that the pancreas produces, which is not given as much attention as insulin, is glucagon. And glucagon can do the opposite. If you have too low levels of blood sugar, glucagon can make glycogen from your liver or your muscles available to your bloodstream as glucose. So if we can imagine what your body wants is to have this sort of regulated, stable level of blood sugar. Insulin's job is to take it when it's at a high level and bring it down. Glucagon's job is to take it when it's at a low level and bring it up. And the pancreas is simply the part of your body that makes those two hormones. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That was a whole lot better explanation than mine.
Oh,
Mine
well,
was
no, insulin is the right
And
answer.
insulin.
If we were
And
looking for
glucagon.
one word, and glucagon. Right?
Yes, now I have two words
no,
to do
insulin is the one.
Thank
That is
you.
the right answer, Becca.
Like it.
Yep.
So wait, you don't have to have a pancreas. You can live without your pancreas. It's just, it's
So
nice
yes, you
to
can.
have
You can,
one.
but there's only two ways to live. So if you have no pancreas, that means that if you take in carbohydrates above any basic level, what's going to end up happening is, on here we've got a pancreas on the screen right there for you guys to look at. If you didn't have a pancreas, you couldn't produce insulin, and so essentially, or glucagon. So you can't really regulate blood sugar.
So would you take
so you've got to be
insulin
really
shots, or-
good
Well,
about
two choices.
regulating.
One is you could just not eat any carbohydrates.
Okay.
You could live
seems
entirely
sad.
off
Really
of.
like that,
you could
but-
live entirely
Sounds
off
awful.
of fats and proteins. So you just basically at this point, all you're doing is eating meat and cheese and drinking milk and water. Is fine.
So you'd be very fit without a pancreas.
Yeah, and some type 1 diabetics are if they follow that diet.
Yeah.
The other option, and the more common thing that we do here in the United States in the modern world, is we say, oh, you don't have a pancreas? Well, here's some pig insulin. Inject that into you, and so you're sort of an external pancreas for yourself. So if anybody out there knows somebody who has type 2 diabetes, it's very common for type 2 diabetics to give themselves insulin shots. And what they're doing is a type 2 diabetic has a pancreas that's no longer functioning, and they're providing insulin to themselves because they don't have that pancreas to create it, and the insulin just does the job. And one incredible thing is that pig insulin mimics human insulin very, very well. So that's where a lot of our insulin comes from.
Subscribe! Come on, push the button.
You know you want to.
Do it.